Welcome to Quit to Win, of the show where we explore the moments people have to let go of limiting pattern, limiting identity, and the internal battle in order to rebuild their life with purpose and clarity. Our today's guest is Dr. Joseph Drolshagen, a rapid growth specialist, subconscious mindset coach, and the creator of the SMT method, a framework designed to help business owner, sales professional, and organization unlock rapid, sustainable growth by aligning mindset, habits, and performance system. With over 28 years in corporate leadership, experience rising to vice president of sales, a doctorate in psychology, and decade of studying subconscious behavior. Joseph have dedicated his work to helping people close the gap between what they know and what they actually do. But this approach didn't come from theory alone. It was shaped through decades of corporate America, rebuilding struggling organization and building high performance, high performance, still self-sabotage, even when they know exactly what to do. His work challenge a core assumption many leaders hold, that growth is primarily a strategy problem, when in reality it's often a subconscious identity problem. With subconscious mindset training, Joseph helped people identify the reprogram and internal conditions that keep them stuck so they can finally execute at the level their goal demand. It's a pleasure and honor having you on the show, Dr. Joseph.
It's great to be here with you.
Yeah.
That was a mouthful, that introduction. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Jessica. So, Dr. Jessica, you have said your turning point wasn't a single moment, but years of living miserable life. When you look back, what was actually making those years feel unbearable on the inside, while everything would look functional on the outside?
Just seemed like everything was such a struggle. Everything was like loaded with fear and anxiety and massive effort. And it seemed like, now when I say that, there were happy times, there were moments, where things, but like everything was a struggle. For me back then, to be happy meant there wasn't as much anxiety and fear of the future and struggle going on in that moment.
Not that they were gone, but the fact that, they were at lower level. With 28 years in corporate America, rising to vice presidents of sales, you were clearly successful on paper. At what point did success start feeling disconnected from fulfillment for you personally?
When I really started feeling it, God, I was probably in my late 30s, when I started understanding the programming within myself. It wasn't me. It wasn't that I was lazy or that I wasn't worthy or I didn't have the confidence. And that's what I thought my whole life is it was. But it wasn't any of that. It was that I had programming that was telling me I wasn't worthy, telling me that it couldn't be easy, telling me that I wasn't, deserving, things like that. And once I started identifying that, within a year and a half, I went from barely scraping by and developing outside sales territories to landing $18 million, $22 million, $25 million year-over-year contracts, which launched me right up to a top producer. And then once I was promoted to a VP and I was leading sales teams, then I would use those same tools I used. They weren't the SMT method yet, but I would use those same tools, that clarity, that reprogramming of myself. I would use it on them, and I would see the highest level of salesperson out, on the sales team of top producers. I would see it continually increasing and people continually increasing. And at the same time they were doing that, their life became more enjoyable. It became more exciting. It became more balanced in their life. And I didn't count on any of this stuff happening, but I just was trying to fix my life, and seeing the results that happened from all that work that I continued to do. And I didn't know what the end result would ever be when I was doing it. Now there's the SMT method that, has the results, the proven results, all that stuff and everything. But back then I didn't know where it was leading. I just couldn't stand living that life I was.
This is really insightful. The fact that when you're able to figure it out what the limiting mindset is, and you being able to face it, and over time seeing the consistency of results that actually more like make you rise in the corporate ladder. Yeah, it's really lovely. And the fact that you really even apply to others and they experience joy and everything, it's amazing. So you work extensively with the subconscious conditioning. and self-sabotage. What did you first realize that mindset and behavior were not always aligned, even in high performance like yourself?
Well, yeah, you know what I started like because I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to make a certain income, or I knew before I even owned a business, I knew what I wanted out of life. I knew what I wanted my sales to be, and developing territory and all that stuff. But like then I would find myself procrastinating on taking the actions that I felt would get me there, where I just couldn't get myself to take those actions. And
Mm,
self-sabotage was one of those, but like I said, procrastination was a really big one. I could not figure out, like, why is this? I know I want the
yeah,
result. I don't feel like I'm a lazy person. Why am I not doing these things? But Benea, so many things would block me from being able to take those actions. And what I realized is the knowing of what we want is in our conscious mind.
yeah,
The subconscious is that program which triggers brain waves to the actions we take or don't take. So if my programming is struggle, hardship, anxiety, all of that stuff, of course it's not going to let me take the actions that are going to launch, me into greater sales and things like that. And the same thing today in today's world with business owners and even people in their personal lives is we hit that programming and we don't even realize that's what's playing out in our thoughts and in our head, but it's not triggering the brain waves to take the actions
mm,
to lead towards what it is we want. So we literally have a disconnect between knowing what we want and taking those actions to bring that
yeah.
to it.
This is a whole lot to really take in the fact that, yeah, knowing is not enough if it's not backed up with an action side. The actions is actually more like coming into being. If the subconscious is, yeah, is aligning with those particular knowing and the fact that it could actually trigger the brain. So actually more like, yeah, take the necessary actions towards the results you desire. Wow, a whole lot to really
Yeah,
take
and
in
and
there.
and the other thing with it is we go years not getting what we truly desire. We know in our mind what we truly desire, and as we step out into it, all of a sudden we start that programming
Yeah.
starts creating some blocks and things like that, and all of a sudden we decide to minimize what we truly desire and live on minuscule scraps of what's truly available for us.
Mm,
So we
amazing.
compromise the life we truly desire to live because of that programming,
Mm,
where we can easily now go identify what that is, go in and shift that, and start bringing alignment between the knowing and doing, and align that with the vision. And now we cannot help but to achieve that vision in our lives. And it's not philosophy, it's physics. It's all about energy flow.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes.
So you develop the SMT method to align subconscious programming with conscious goal. What was the original problem you were trying to solve when you created it?
It was all about identifying the programming. I mean, that's what my whole thing, I didn't
Yeah.
know that's what I was doing for 3 decades, but that's what it ended up being. It ended up being identifying the programming, the patterns, the paradigms, the belief systems, all the things that are causing that limited, identifying those, and then developing the tools that quickly shifts that to open up greater potential, greater possibilities. And I've seen this happen with a lot of across a lot of businesses. I've seen it happen in people's personal lives with their transformation with their bodies and things like that. I've seen it happen with personal finances. I've seen it happen with love relationships and people who continue to go in and out of those relationships trying to get what they want and they continue to exactly like I did, continue to repeat those same
Yeah.
upsets with every new relation to being at a point where like finding the love of my life, and celebrating that and it being beyond what I even thought my vision was.
Yeah. Hmm. A whole lot, a whole lot. And the fact that it work for business, it work for relationship, it work across different things when it comes to execution. And yeah, it's amazing. So you have helped big organizations move from bankruptcy to profitability through mindset and system work. What is the first internal shift that usually precedes financial change?
What the first thing that has to change really? The thoughts. Nothing happens until we change a thought. What happens is that subconscious programming, I talked about the way it triggers brain waves to the actions we take or don't take, but it also sets our perceptions. So it's how we see the world is through that programming, how we see ourselves in that world. So even in business, for a couple months, we would meet 5 days a week as a senior leadership team when the company got into bankruptcy, and we would sit and talk and every day I would bring up what's something good that's going on. What's something good that's going on. And people would call me Mr. Over Optimistic. They just blow me off and stuff like that, and to the point when I was going in these meetings and I go, why am I doing this? Like, why do I keep bringing this up? What the heck's the matter with me? I've already been insulted and kidded and teased, but something drove me and I continued to do it. And one day we're in the meeting and the guy that handles small parts, he goes, we had a high scrap rate on these parts. And so my guy had this idea to change this part of the process, and it brought our scrap rate from like 40% down to into the teens.
Ooh.
And the guy on the other side of the room that handles 20,000 plus pound parts, he goes, wait, what is the problem? And he told him, and he goes, we got that same problem. What'd you do? And he goes, here's what we did. And he goes, when we're done here, I'll go out there and I'll show you. Within a few days, he came back in there and dropped their scrap rate to single digits from 30-some%. Now, all of a sudden, people would listen. As soon as that happened, I took the whole leadership team and I go, let's develop a vision of what we do want. We come in here every day and talk about the problems. We talk about what we don't want. We talk about how it's getting worse and how this and how that and everything else. Let's develop a vision of this company at its all-time high, just soaring in business with new owners coming in. And within a few months, we had new owners come in, dump $12 million in the operation, and overnight take them from a 3-day a month to a 5-day a week operation and start scaling back up again.
Wow, really a whole lot. The fact
So
that,
there's
yeah,
validity to these tools, and I'll say this, the highest growth I've ever seen one of my clients achieve was they were at $7.5 million for a 13-year high in business. The 12 months we worked together, they shot just over $22 million in 12
wow,
months. It was the only year, up until then, it was the only year of their adult life. They took 5 weeks of vacation during that year of growth, and they've maintained that for over 8 years now. Now, I preface that by telling you that's the highest, but I have a lot of organizations that
yeah,
went from a couple thousand to a couple $1,000s a month to $60,000 a week, or from $150,000 to toppling over $1 million by the end of
yeah,
April of this year, and continuation on and on and on and on with the stories and stuff. When we get that alignment, when we go in and we deal with the that programming, what's in that subconscious
yeah,
programming, and we identify and shift that, we just open up the doors to amazing results. And for business owners, what they will continually tell me, my clients, is it became fun again to
yeah.
own the business.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So during the
Yes.
course of your work, you specialize in subconscious programming. In a simple term, what is one misconception people have about their own subconscious mind that keep them stuck?
Okay. Great question. Let me ask you, you have a business, right?
Yeah, I do.
If you're working hard and you're not getting results, what's the first thing that you do?
Ooh, what is the first thing that
Most
I do?
people, Benaya, most people, they'll work harder.
Yeah,
They'll put in more hours. They'll change their strategies. They'll do all these different things, right? So it's like, if it's not working at 50
yeah.
hours a week, then I got to go 70 hours a week, and I
So
got to go more, and I got
yeah,
to go harder, and I got to, until we get to exhaustion. And I've seen so many companies close their doors on a very business with a lot of potential because of that. Instead of working on the inner alignment, they start working on doing more of it, spending more time, working harder, going faster, things like that. Or they want to completely revamp their strategy and completely flip everything around. And I've done all that stuff. When COVID hit and my business went, it like kind of plummeted because everything shut down. I had 15 speaking events cancel in one day. I went
ooh,
back up into my head trying to re-strategize everything. And man, I burned through 2 employees that were on my team because I just wore them out trying to go so fast. And then I was like, okay, thank God I had a coach. And him and I were talking. He goes, okay, stop everything. Just stop everything right now. Pack a bag, go over to Chattanooga and go hang gliding. And I'm thinking, my business is going to heck here. And you're telling me to go hang glide. But I went. And while I was there, one time I was setting up the hang glider, getting ready to take a launch off 2,000-foot mountaintop, and my phone rang, and it was somebody told them about me, and they wanted to talk. Through that week, I ended up getting 3 new clients that I didn't have listed down. They weren't people I was chasing after or going after or anything like that. It just kind of showed up, and that taught me, the more effort I put, the less I'm going to see things out of the blue, coincidences, alignment happening in my life.
yeah. Alignment happening in your life. Yeah. Instead of going harder, become one from the perspective of being strategic. Yeah. Amazing. So many people want rapid growth, but struggle with consistency. What is one subconscious pattern that most often sabotage consistently without people realizing it?
You know the story I told you about the one client that was at 7.5 million at the 22? Okay. A lot of people I talk to say, that's not even possible. That's
Yeah.
BS. No way that could happen. For that person, there's nothing I can do.
Mm,
There's a quote by Henry Ford, an old quote, and I love it still. If you think you can or you think you can't,
yeah.
you're correct. And what happens most of the time is it's our programming that stops us from believing things are possible for us. So one of the things I do with the coaching, and this is where I'm unique from most other coaching platforms. I don't have an ABC plan to get people to D. I work off of the SMT method, works off of the uniqueness of every individual I work with. So I don't have two clients who have the same vision. I don't have two clients who have the same systems of accelerating habits. I don't have two clients it's all based on the uniqueness of every individual I work with, because ultimately, as much as the world tries to, and the categories try to put us into this robotic living, we're not robots. We're unique individuals, and to truly tap into our full potential, to truly experience living that potential in our everyday life, we have to come from our uniqueness in order to bring that forward. And here's the kind of, not trick, but here's the thing to it all, Benaya. We cannot go out and get to whatever our vision is, whether it's a business growth or a great love relationship or whatever it is, financial security. We can't go out and get to that place. We have to come from that internally. And when we do that with that alignment, the only possibility available is to experience that vision in
Yeah.
our everyday life.
Yeah.
And again, it's not
Amazing.
philosophy, it's physics. It's all about that alignment, and it's all about energy flow from the vision to the conscious to the subconscious to the actions we're taking to the results we experience.
Amazing, amazing. I think it's really lovely, especially when you just bring it out to it that people have their own uniqueness. They have their own different thing, and the fact that each and every of those particular things will definitely align once the subconscious has been worked on, and a whole lot of desired result can be gotten after the application. Yeah. It's really amazing. So lastly, for someone listening who feel they are working hard but not seeing proportional result, what is the first place you will tell them to look at? Is it strategy? Is it habits or mindset?
Well, I don't tell people strategy, and here's why.
Yeah.
When you're coming from the programming not being in alignment with what you want,
Mm,
strategy's never going to get you there. So what we do is we bring the alignment and then we implement strategy, because now you're coming from that place of alignment. So it's never strategy to start with. You know what it is to start with, really? It's getting clarity on what it is you
mm,
want. What is that end point? What is that business size, or what does that great love look like? And there's a very descriptive when we SMT method refers to dynamic visions. It's very descriptive in what it looks like, but also the feeling tone of it, of living that life. So what we're doing is we're putting that life together where we see it now, what it's going to be like. Now we got the first part of that. We got the knowing with a lot of clarity to it. And then as we go forward, so just getting that, people will start noticing the things that are like, okay, I know I want this really bad. I can feel it, man. I can taste it. Why am I not taking the action? That's that clue that is subconscious programming working against you.
yeah. This is really, really
Getting
amazing.
clarity on the want.
Yeah. Amazing. I think it just speaks volumes to the fact that strategy does not make sense when there is no alignment and when it does not align with where you are going and everything. Strategy
Yes,
might even be more of the big problem being that you have not actually get to understand where you're going before you actually start making reference of the routes reaching that particular goals and aspiration. Yeah, it's amazing. And
absolutely,
thank you so
absolutely.
much for sharing.
Yes.
Uh, so, Dr. Joseph, for my audience who would love to reach out to apply your occasions to get your book and to reach out for your coaching, how can they reach out and where is the best platform?
The easiest way people can do it, I mean, we're going to have my social media links and all that stuff, website and stuff, but the easiest way for people to reach out to me, if something sparks in this for you, and you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I know I'm blocked, because we know when we're blocked. If you know that, just schedule a 15-minute call with me. It's not a sales call. It's just really to help you start moving that block and shifting out of that block. And you can go to smtmethod.com, and we can put that in the notes and stuff like that. So, and it's just a schedule introductory call with me. It's with me personally. We'll get on the phone. We'll talk for 15. I sometimes I get a little talkative, so it could be a few minutes over. But
Yeah.
it's all the whole purpose of that conversation is to serve and help people start stepping aside from those blocks and start getting into what they truly desire, to help me fill my mission of helping millions of people to live better lives.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. And definitely from our audience who would love to kind of reach out for the cause, check the show note and you definitely see the link to reach out. Yeah, thank you so much once again, Dr.
Great being
Joseph.
here with you.
Thank you for bringing your experience, clarity, and depth to Quito. Your reminder that most growth problem are not external but internal pattern running beneath the awareness is something every listener can reflect on. And if this episode resonates with you, share it with someone who is working hard and still feels stuck. Sometimes the shift begins when the invisible pattern finally get named. Once again, it's a pleasure and honor.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you very much.